What's up, YouTube? Hey guys, how's everybody doing? It's your boy Taylor again. Today we're going to be doing a review on the Shimano Curado. I bought a Curado, my second Curado actually. It's the HG, the high gear, 7.2-1 or 7.3-1. Anyway. So I bought a Curado back in the day, one of the old green, the old green G6s, and fell in love with the reel. Noticed really quickly within just a couple of casts with it that it's a big reel in a small package. I mean, sucker could take a beating. I caught redfish on it, trout, snook. And this was before I had a lot of bait casters, and before I had a lot of the bait casting rods as well. So I would take it and take it off of my my St. Croix that I had it on, and I would put it on a flipping stick and take it over, and I would in the morning take it on the flats on a light action or a medium light, I think I had St. Croix, and I would catch trout and redfish on the flats, throwing topwater plugs or pitching a little DOA shrimp or a Z-Man bait to a redfish, and then the best part is after that was over, I'd reel up and I'd go home after a while, and then I'd go back and put it on a flipping stick, go catch bass with it. So it was a real versatile reel. So when they came out with this newer one, I had to buy it. I have a trout trick on here right now. And this is just basically one of my inshore setups. You can fish bass for it you can fish bass with this rig for no problem. But the reason why I got this rod, this is a Waterloo. These are made in Texas. I discovered this brand when I went to Texas when I got stationed there, and fell in love with the brand. They're great rods, and I've used top of the line stuff. I've used G Loomis, I've used St. Croix, and for the money. In my opinion, these are some of the best rods you can get. This happens to be their Phantom series. This is their cheapest rod. This rod's like $110, right? It's nothing. But when I got here, I had no tackle, and I just wanted to get something that I knew was going to last. I've got two Waterloos back in Texas. I'm going to be getting more. But I wanted something that's going to last and something that's ultimately going to bring fish to me and do the job. So, bought Waterloo Phantom. But anyway, I bought a Curado. Now, the reason why I bought a Curado versus some of the other Shimanos is I've got several different Shimano bait casters. I have a Castius. I've got a Chronarch MG, one of the older ones. I actually found that reel in mint condition brand new this past week and bought that. I'm going to be doing a product review on that next month. Those are great. They're great reels. But like I said, for me, the old school green Curado that I had was one of my favorite bait casters I've ever thrown. So like I said, when the new one came out, I absolutely had to buy it. Some things I really like about this reel. So when you get a Shimano from the factory, usually I'll show you here. So right in here, you've got your little switch, your little open and close switch. And now you can see all your internal brakes. You got your braking system in here, okay? Usually when you get a reel from the factory or you buy one off the shelf from Shimano, usually they come with all the brakes are turned on, okay? So you have your maximum anti-backlash that you could have, right? Well, that's great if you are new to bait casters. Well, I've had a good bit in the past, and I know how to throw a bait caster pretty well. So what I like to do is just, I bought it, and I like to take two of those brakes and turn them off, okay? And the reason why I like to do that is because you kind of get the best of both worlds. With two brakes off, I believe you can throw pretty much any bait on this reel, on this rod and reel, and you're still gonna have half anti-backlash engaged, and half of your spool now is just going to be free floating. So doing that, I've noticed that of course my casting distance has gone up, but I don't backlash I wasn't backlashing at all. I hardly really backlash, but I wasn't backlashing at all when I had all 4 brakes on. It's a very, very difficult thing to do, in my opinion. If you know what you're doing, you know how to throw a bait caster. And in turning those 2 brakes off and keeping 2 on, I've had a backlash or 2, but it was windy and But anyway, so took it out. Past couple days, it's done well on redfish and trout. The drag systems are pretty strong in these reels. I want to say this Curado has, I could be wrong, but I want to say somewhere in the neighborhood of like 20 pounds of drag, which is insane for this little bitty reel. I mean, these reels are this big, guys. I mean, they're the smallest little thing, but yet they pack so much of a punch. I mean, my drag, I like to keep my drag relatively loose, not too tight, but not too loose. I always like being able to, get that thump and bow up on the fish, and you hear your drag, and you feel your drag go a little bit. That's usually when I know that my drag's good to go. When I fish saltwater, when I fish for redfish and trout, and inshore species. Now, when I fish for bass, different story. I usually throw a frog, so my drag's always locked down to the max, and you're ripping these bass out of the pads and out of the slop. But that's not the case with this reel. That's not what this reel's going to be used for. I threw a Z-Man trout trick today and caught 4 or 5 trout and 2 or 3 redfish on it. Reel did a great job, held up great. In my opinion, for $179, you get your money's worth, especially in the fishing world. You kind of get what you pay for. So that was just a quick little brief about the reel. There's not too much to tell. If you know bait casters, if you fish bait casters, you've usually probably heard of a Curado before, and I'm sure you've heard of Shimano. In my opinion, hands down, for the money, one of the best reels on the market in that price range. If you can afford $179 for a reel, in fact, they're $170 or $179 MSRP. The Academy Sports that I bought mine at, and also bought the rod at, had them for $134. I think they were like 30% off or something like that. So of course, when I saw that, I was like, absolutely, I'm definitely going to get one. Real quick too, so usually when I get a bait caster, my spinning rod, one of them anyway, but my spinning rod with my Stratic, it's, my handle's on the left-hand side, right? My bait casters though, my handles are always on the left-hand side. I don't like a right-handed bait caster. Well, I should say I didn't. And the reason why was because when throwing a topwater plug with a spinning rod, I can work a topwater plug with no problem at all. Everything is easy. But with a bait caster, the same thing. I can work a topwater plug with no problem. The take up and pausing and just walking the dog, all of that doesn't bother me. Now, if I try to do it with this hand in a reel, it's different. I can't do it as well. But I will tell you this, that since I knew that going into this, and they didn't have a lefty in hardly any of their bait casters, so I just went ahead and bought a righty. Now I will tell you that in doing that, I saw a little bit of difficulty, but this reel it's very, very forgiving, and I like the 7-to-1 because you get a lot more take up, and just noticing the way this reel operates and the fast take up of that 7-to-1 ratio, coupled with just the grips and the handle, it's actually made it a lot easier for me to walk it with my left hand. It's become easier. Like the trout trick I have on here right now is just a jig. So, I make my cast and just reel down and twitch, pause, reel down, twitch, pause. I can do that. I can do that with my feet. So I'm sure it's definitely easy for me to do it with my left hand. But haven't had any issues with the reel so far. Like I said, some of the redfish I hooked today were stripping some drag and taking off, and the reel did great. 30-pound Power Pro on this reel. I like throwing braid on my bait casters. I know some guys love throwing mono, and they will always throw mono for trout and redfish with their bait casters. But personally, everybody's different. I really don't like it too much. I realize the point, especially when fishing for big trout, when you throw mono on a bait caster, because the mono stretches, and it helps. It's very forgiving, and it helps. Anybody who's caught trout before, they've got a real soft mouth, so that hook will wear a big hole in the side of their mouth. Well, if you throw braid, there's no stretching in braid, so if you give even a little bit of slack, or you drop your rod or something happens, that fish is most likely going to get it free, because all it has to do is just shake its head and the hook's going to fall right out. Now with mono, it's different. When that fish is really pulling and you're trying to get him out of the grass or keep his head up or whatever the case is, right? The mono is going to stretch, so that fish isn't going to get such a big hole in his head. The downside of that is that it's not as strong as braid, and you can't get nearly as much on a reel as you can with braid. So I've thrown Power Pro for 10, 12 years now. I love Power Pro. I'll never switch into braid. I've used other braids. I can't stand them. None of them compare to Power Pro. I used Fins. Fins was a good braid, but just started slacking. It just wasn't as good as Power Pro. In my opinion, Power Pro is the best braid you can get. But anyway, so the video, like I said, was just a little bit about the Curado. If anybody has any questions or any comments, please feel free to ask. Just message me on here, and I'm pretty good about getting back to people. Let me know if you have any videos you want to see, or just anything y'all want to know. All right, guys, tight lines. Take care. Bye.